It's Lindsay from Discover Life Church. I'm here today with Jenny and the glorious Miss Rosie. We are talking about marriage this week on the podcast. I know last week the guys discussed kind of what the role of the husband was, and so today we're just going to have an open conversation, some open dialogue about what the role of the wife is. So I want to start by asking Miss Rosie, since she's been married a while, just, what does that role of a wife look like to you in your marriage?
What does the role look like now versus what it was when I first got married? Big difference.
Yeah.
And I was sharing with Lindsay and Jenny before we started shooting, and that's been 42 years ago, folks. That's before Christ's time. When I got down the altar, my thoughts were, if this doesn't work out, I've got a plan. And I think Lindsay mentioned that's the way the world looks at it now, that if this doesn't work out, we've got a plan. Mm-hmm. But that shouldn't be our way of thinking, because it is a glorious thing. And Paul says it is a mystery. And there's so much power between a husband and a wife when they become one, mm-hmm. that anything and all things are possible.
Right. In the very beginning, God said it wasn't right for man to be alone, and so He created women. And later on, it talks about a man leaving his family to be one in his wife. And I know we're talking about Ephesians 5 and kind of how the wife is supposed to submit. And I think in our culture today, that word submit is very hard for us to digest, because we look at kind of where women have had to come, liberating their rights. But that picture is so different from what it was intended to be and what God intended a marriage to be. And so those thoughts on that oneness and supporting, respecting your husband, I think is the root of a good marriage.
And also, you said it, submission. But in order for you to submit, in order for you to have authority, you have to be under authority.
Yes.
So as a wife that wants authority, you need to be under authority. And I want my prayers answered. I want my miracles to happen. So I have to be under authority. That means submission.
Right. And I think, to me, the husband's role's almost harder, because they have to have a sacrificial love. They have to die to self to love their wife, whereas we're just charged to support, uphold, respect the man. And in my opinion, I'm like, yeah, good. You go and die for your country. I'll be here to support you 100%. But Jenny, what I know you're newly engaged and about to be married. What does that ideal role look like to you?
I see it going into it as just a lifelong partnership.
Yes.
So as long as we support each other, although he is technically the head of the household, 51% versus the 49%, but we are together in that as a team. So we need to communicate and have each other's back and pray together.
Yes.
Exactly. I love how Ephesians 21 first starts out with, you have to submit to each other.
Yes.
So you always have to, I always have to consciously intend to put my needs before him, and vice versa. I mean, he has to put my needs before his. I think that's so important to start with, and then, God goes into the roles of how the wife has to submit to her husband, and the husband, just as God loves the church, is the authority. It's such a pure relationship. And once we look at it in that aspect, the modern day view fades away, and it becomes superfluous almost of how wrong it is and how far away from that original purpose of marriage we've come. So, should we keep going? Crickets.
So what is the purpose of marriage? What is the purpose of marriage? You know what Sonny says? The purpose of marriage is to show the world a picture of Christ and the church.
Yes.
That's our purpose, to reflect to the world what kingdom living looks like. Mm-hmm. I am the bride, he is Christ. right? And so that's how we're to live it out publicly and even in our homes, because that's where it really matters for our children to see this.
Yes.
And so that, and I love what Angela's told me once before. I'm not looking for a soulmate. I'm looking for a purpose mate.
Yes.
Someone that will share in the same kingdom purposes that God has called us to be.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard because we live in a world where it's all about competition. I think even before we got married, we got a word at your church that, you know, we were going to struggle in competition with each other. And so we've had to consciously make a decision not to make it about pulling one over on each other, but working together to glorify Him and to raise our children under, you know, the biblical sense of what a marriage is and how God intends it for us to be.
Compliment.
Yeah. Compliment.
Compliment.
Yes, not competition.
Yes.
Yeah,
Compliment.
All right, guys. Well, listen.
Oh, you're so much fun. And you're so much fun. Oh my gosh, looking at you too. I said, gonna be 10?
About 8, 9.
8, 9, 10, and 42 dog years.
Yeah.
So it's going to be amazing to see what God does in 20 years.
Right.
And we'll be 62.
Thank you guys for listening. I hope we got a little bit out of this. We welcome you back for next week and what we have in store.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.